Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this Wednesday night edition. I don't remember what day of the week it is now, of the Around the Ropes radio show. Now, guys, one of our newest partners to the show now is Flex Wrestling, which is up in the upstate New York area. And over the next couple of weeks, we're going to have a lot of their talent on. But it's actually kind of funny because our guest we have on tonight was actually the first one I requested for, so it kind of worked out perfect. Coming back to the show, friend of the show, the one, the only Sean Carr. Sean, welcome back to the show. How you been?
I have been amazing. I've been good, and I am ready to get my flex on with Flex Wrestling.
Before we get into that, because obviously we have a big match coming up against ECW legend, basically guy who's been everywhere in Rhino. I want to just touch quickly on Immortal for a hot second.
Sure, absolutely.
Because last time you were on till now, you've turned to the dark side, and you're kind of joining forces with Garrett.
Yeah. So it's no secret. Garrett Holiday and myself are real life friends. We vacationed together. He was in my wedding. He was, him and his wife are very near, dear friends to me. I'm actually, a lot of people don't know this, I'm one of the godfathers of their child to be. So, for anybody to not see that one coming is just kind of a moron, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, you could say that, the dark side, Immortal has been immortal, and, they needed a little shake up, and sometimes they've forgotten exactly who I am. And, I had to remind them, I guess.
But now, obviously, we all know, a lot of times when people turn to the dark side, the end goal is, to get a title. Obviously, we saw at the last show, we did see Shane come back. And somehow, don't know how he pulled that one off. Won the title. Is your goal now to take the title back from him? Because, technically, even though he is part of the company, technically he is an outsider because, he hasn't been there in a while.
Yeah, he is an outsider. You know what I mean? There's a lot of things I could say right now that get me in trouble, but I'll keep my mouth shut. But, Shane came back, the golden child, the golden goose, the one who's given everything. And yeah, there we are. So he stole the title from Garrett Holiday. He used Teddy Long to do so, and it's all nonsense if you ask me. So listen, if Shane Stetson and my paths cross, I don't know, man. Maybe his daddy's gonna have to fly out from Florida to help scrape him off the mat because I don't think Shane wants that, and I don't think his little daddy Chip wants that either.
No, I think the best way to phrase it is you don't want to piss. You're one person that nobody wants to get pissed off because I've seen what you can do in the ring.
That is very true. That is very true. I'm the last one that anyone wants that. But listen, I'm on a break right now with Immortal. I don't know when the next time I'll be there, but who knows? Maybe the next time I am there, I'll be the one that shows up and takes that title off of Shane Stetson and send him back to Disneyland,
Honestly, if everybody kind of knows my issues with Shane at this point, not issues per se, it's more of I butchered his last name like a couple of years ago.
Sure.
And he's still called me to this day. Not my first name. I accidentally called him Steven Stetson, not realizing there is an actual Steven Stetson wrestler.
Okay. Well, yeah. When was this? A few years ago, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Shane was a nobody then, so it's fine. He's gained some attention now because he trains with Natty and the new Heart Foundation in Florida, which is great. On the real, that's the best place for anybody aspiring to make this a profession to go to. But this is upstate New York. It is not Central Florida. So yeah, again, like I said, Shane, it's great he moved down to the Sunshine State, but I don't know. I feel like Garrett needs to file an appeal or something because last I knew Shane wasn't allowed back at Immortal Championship Wrestling, but here we are. He's the champ. So I guess we just gotta let it go for right now.
You do have a point though, because didn't he lose a match where a loser leaves the company?
And I believe it was to Garrett Holiday in Cobleskill, New York. So, yeah, go figure that one out. But it is Immortal Championship Wrestling, and anything can happen. So,
But moving on from Immortal here, I want to look obviously at what we have coming up with Flex.
Yes,
How
absolutely.
did you get brought into Flex Wrestling?
Well, so it's I got messaged by HC Loke and Ref Ryan, and they at first I was messaged a logo that was Flex Wrestling, and Loke said, "Hey, what do you think about this?" And I was like, yeah, I mean, are you doing your own thing or what?" And he goes, "Well, kind of, yeah. Uh, Me and Ryan are thinking about starting something. We want you to be a part of it." And I was like, "Okay, yeah, let's talk." And then before I knew it, 2 days later, there was a venue book, there was talent book, there was a date book, there was discussions on what big star we should use, and it all came together really fast, at least on my end. And before people start asking or talking or spreading non-truth, right? There's been a lot of people out there that think that Loke, me, Ryan, TJ, we all got fed up with Excite Wrestling and we left to start our own thing and we're going to take over Excite's territory. That couldn't be far from the truth. Flex Wrestling is a side project for me. I know it's a main project for Ryan and for Loke, and we just, independent wrestling right now is so hot, right? And there's so much in demand of independent wrestling, and we want to jump in, throw our name in the hat, and we feel that we have enough experience between all of us where we can make another place for the boys to work. And you're always going to have those people that like to start rumors and innuendos, and that's fine. It makes us stay relevant, I guess. But it is all love with us and Excite Wrestling. None of us are leaving. There is a thing in independent pro wrestling that when people get mad, I've seen it so many times in the 17 years I've been doing this, where someone will get mad on the direction or whatever, and then they'll just leave and start their own company, and that is not what happened with us. We, Johnny Moose, who runs Excite, is very busy. Between promoting his own shows, he's also doing the production for almost everybody in upstate New York. So he's very busy. This is just an opportunity to run in an area that no one really runs in. And hey, let's see what we can do, right? Let's see what we can do. Who knows if Moose wants to continue to do Excite Wrestling? I mean, you never know. It's a nice spot to have in case Moose does one day decide to say, you know what, I don't want to do the promoting guy. I just want to be the production guy. Now we can do whatever. But until then, we're going to stay in our designated area. We have a great building. We have a great, very awesome roster. I'm very excited to see where this goes, and I am very excited for the future of pro wrestling in upstate New York.
Well, you mentioned before about how there's people who like to start rumors and innuendos. That's pro wrestling.
That is 100%. That is pro wrestling. There's a saying that is out there: telephone, telegraph, tell a wrestler, and that could be more true because, I mean, within the first week of announcing the company, the show, this, that, the other, we had calls from the athletic commission. We had the Facebook got flagged. There's so much everything problems that we were running into, but it's all good. It's all good. You know what I mean? Because I mean, I guess if you have haters in the business, that means you're doing something right. But we a lot of people have reached out, and all of our inboxes have been just overrun with people that want to be a part of Flex, and that's cool, right? Like that is an amazing thing to know that so many people want to be a part of our product that hasn't even launched yet. That's just like I would like to think that's a good attest to Loke, me, Ryan, TJ, that hey, these guys, they're gonna do something good. It's not
Yeah.
gonna be trash wrestling or backyard wrestling or stuff that's not professional. It's gonna look good. It's gonna have its own little vibe to it, and it's gonna be an experience. It definitely is.
Oh, I can totally get that. But obviously, we know one of the big differences with upstate New York wrestling compared to like Jersey wrestling, for example. Jersey
Yeah.
wrestling, there's like 800 companies just in the northern part of New Jersey alone.
Oh yeah, and they all run the same building.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
But then you look at upstate New York, and realistically, it's you guys, it's Excite, it's
yeah,
Immortal, and it's Dynasty.
yeah,
Realistically,
yeah.
those are only four. And I'm not even talking about, the Buffalo area or the Rochester area.
Sure. Yeah, yeah. I mean, and that's because the strict athletic commission that New York has, and Jersey's a lawless land.
Oh, yeah.
That's why there's so many companies that pop up. Like in Jersey, all you need is a ring and a building. That's it. That's literally it. That's why it's ran, to the ground. I mean, I've wrestled a lot in New Jersey, and they got great fans down there. But in New York State, like it's more difficult to get a show going because of everything that goes into it. Whether it's you got to have a doctor, you got to have an ambulance, you got to have a license, a security bond, building, and none of that is cheap. None of it is. I mean, I know in Binghamton at least, like, we have to hire an ambulance company and, they get paid per hour and it's a few $100s per hour and it's expensive. So that's why, when the promoter comes up, it says, hey, boys, sorry, no intermission tonight. We're going to have to do it after the show. That's why you got to try to save money where you can. I wish New York was more like Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania, you don't have to have an ambulance as long as you are, I believe it's 10 miles within radius of a hospital.
Oh,
Yeah, PA is like in between. Like they're pretty lenient. You have to have a doctor there, but the doctor is just there to make sure if there's an injury, they can come check you. But yeah, I mean Jersey, and I think Delaware too is pretty lackadaisy with their commission. But yeah, it's and in some aspects it's good because then you won't have anybody running a show. You literally have people who take it serious and they really want to have quality pro wrestling. So it's able to weed out a lot of like the trash. But there still is a good amount of trash in New York. But it's just it's one of those things where in New York it's very strict to run wrestling shows because we're looped in like MMA and boxing.
I get that. That's just why talking to a lot of the promoters in New York, that's why a lot of times they'll run in Jersey because New York, you're automatically in the negative before the doors even open.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, you got to think about it like this. If you go bare minimum, and we're talking bare minimum, right? Yeah. It costs, if you do short changes, anywhere between $2,000 to $3,000 to run a pro wrestling event. And that's just, from when I've been working with Moose and the prices we get. Obviously, there's other places that probably get better deals, but if you add in everything with cost of the building, cost of the ring truck, cost of, the insurance, you got to send your event notice 10 days before the event happens to the New York State Athletic Commission. You got to have mats down, you got to have guardrails, you got to have everything that they check mark off to make sure that you have. But I mean, you also got to send a percentage of your ticket gate into the state. Like it's a lot. Like it's a business for sure. Sometimes it's a business that doesn't really help the promoters out, but and I dare say that's before even paying talent. You know, I mean, you run a risk when you run a wrestling show. Now there are ways to cut costs and
Yeah.
to do whatever, but then the quality of the show goes down. And then, I always like to say you only get one chance to make a first impression, and you don't know how many people are in that audience if that's their first show. Do you want it to be, oh my God, I want to come back to this, or wow, that sucked? You know what I mean? So that's kind of, I feel like the more you spend, obviously, and you have a right mind for it, then, you'll get that return back, hopefully.
But I get what you're saying. That's like when you talk about like WWE, for example, and I always make the argument about how do you attract a casual fan? That's the same thing in independent wrestling. How do you attract a person if it's their first time?
Absolutely. And it's funny you said that because I just did a show in Pennsylvania. It was for Kevin Kelly and Brutal Bob Evans. It was their very first show. It's called The Pro Wrestling. It's
Yeah.
Time Honored Excellence Pro Wrestling, right?
Mm-hmm.
They ran in Carlisle, Pennsylvania, which there's nothing going on in Carlisle, Pennsylvania, right? It's a small town that's I think, the west of Harrisburg.
Okay.
And it's, for me, it was 3 hours down 81. But, they used talent from Canada. They used talent from upstate New York. They used talent from Maryland. They used talent from all Indianapolis, like all over the country. And really all over this part of the world.
Yeah.
And that was their main thing, is this is the first time that a lot of these people have ever seen pro wrestling. And I'll never forget, Kevin came to the back. He goes, guys, this could be like a night off for you, because it's mainly kids, and they had strict rules, not to like expose the business or whatever, but they had strict rules of no swearing, keep it in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
Just tell good stories, be a good guy, be a bad guy, figure it out there. You know what I mean? And the fans ate it up, and there was 400 people there, and their goal is in December to have 800 people there, in Carlisle, Pennsylvania. But again, you had 400 people that have seen independent wrestling for the first time, and they're blown away. They're going to go back and they're going to tell their mom, their brothers, their family, their neighbors, or whatever, like, yo, their coworkers, like, yo, I just went to this wrestling show. It was so much fun. You and your family will love coming. Here's their website. Here's their ticket information. And then before you know it, you go back and your crowd is doubled. That's how promoting events, and that's how it works, but it's like you said, the casual fan. That's what WWE and AEW they always do. They got to cater to the audiences. They got to, cater to the masses. And that's how you sell tickets and sell out arenas and sell merchandise and all that good stuff. So
no, I get that, trust me. But then you look at, with what you guys are doing right now with Flex, and it was brought to my attention when we had HC Loc on. And I was looking up the stuff, and I was like, wow, normally you don't see everything booked as quickly as it was.
Yeah.
And there's still at least a month or so, over a month.
Yeah.
Till the show. And I think most of the card has been already announced, or a good majority has.
Yeah. And, I'm going to say something, and I don't want people to take it the wrong way, because I'm sure a lot of independent wrestlers are going to look at this. Like, Loc, me, Ryan, like, we're friends with everybody, right?
Yeah.
If you're not a friend of Loc, me, and Ryan in the business, and you have heat against us, and there's obviously something wrong with you, because I try to get along with everybody. Same with Loc. Loc has so much experience and so much respect and love and admiration in the wrestling world, where we would love to get everybody on, but then you're going to have a 5-day show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so we really had to be very selective on who we wanted to use, but we also, and it's not a knock on anyone's talent or anything, because there's so much talent throughout the entire Northeast and upstate New York region. We just were like, what matchups can we do that we think would make our first show really stand out, right? And, it was just one of those, things where we threw all the experience that all of us have at, and it was the easiest card to really put together, because it's like, okay, no, that'll be a good match. Oh no, that'll go really well together. Oh, those guys will have a good one, and the big thing that we want is we really want a good quality locker room. And it's hard. It's very hard to select, because, again, there's so much talent in upstate New York between Rochester, Buffalo, Syracuse, the Albany region down here in Binghamton. The entire upstate of New York has so much talent that it's hard to select, 15 people that, you want to represent your company. And I think we've done that. And I like it because you got a mix of some newer talent that we feel can really be something. We want to give opportunity. We want people to say, hey, go out and have fun and make the most out of this opportunity. And that's what Flex, I feel, is going to be all about.
Well, that's actually kind of leads to my next question, because like we were saying before, there's Dynasty, there's Immortal, there's Excite, and now there's Flex. And again, and before the people of Rochester and the Buffalo area and the Syracuse area come at me with pitchforks, I'm using those four because those four are within a couple of 100 miles of each other.
Right. Yeah. And then there's One Up in there too. One Up is really good too. And but yeah, there's a lot of companies, and there's the one thing that we kind of wanted was, it's not a knock on anybody, but you got your workers, right, that are on every single show, like the Edge of Hopes. They're on everything, right? But they deserve to be. They're very talented, right? I know if I messaged, every one of those, I could be on every one of those shows. But this time in my life, I can't do it like I used to. So that's why I like to just kind of stay closer to downstate a little bit. But we wanted to really try and offer a different card than what you would see, and maybe not have guys who are normally in tag teams be in a tag team. Like, for example, Chal and TJ, they are not tagging the show. They're in singles matches because the two of them are, and everyone busts on TJ because it's easy, right? But the two of them are some of the best young talent out there. And, I have watched both of them grow from their first bumps in the ring to wrestling some of the best talent on the independents right now, and they're not the only ones. I mean, there's a whole list of people that are just like that. So it's really cool for like guys like Loke and me, and even like Colin and like Maddock and stuff, guys that have been around for a while, that just kind of like see this and go, okay, like, this is good. This is, because you can't do this forever in the ring. You can't, and everybody says you want to leave it better than how you found it. And the wrestling scene in upstate New York, I feel, is definitely, it's finally getting the respect that it deserves. And it's finally been put on the map as one of the hotbeds in pro wrestling. And us at Flex, we just want to, just keep on that tradition,
I completely agree. Just to make a mention, people who are listening, who are watching this now, guys, Sean just mentioned a few of the names. We're actually going to have quite a few of them on this show in the weeks to come, including Sarah Marine will be on with us. Maddock will be on with us next week. Chal Connors will be on actually right after Sean. And
that's right. I curtain jerk this thing. A true veteran move, let me tell you.
No, because in all honesty, obviously, Sean, you've known me now for a little bit of time, and you've seen what I do with the show. And I always try to give people, companies, that opportunity. Like how you were saying with Flex, sort of. I kind of use that with this show. That I look at it
perfect.
I look at it as there's Busted Open, and Busted Open's going to always cover WWE and AEW. But there's really no show that covers independent wrestling.
Right.
And because a lot of people looked at me and said, they're like, well, why do you want to work with this company? They're like, well, what do you get out of it? I'm like, honestly, it gives them the exposure.
Sure.
And it puts Around the Ropes into a new era.
Oh, absolutely. And to be honest with you, it also like I feel like when people do like these kind of platforms that you do, like again, it offers people the experience to do podcasting. It offers people the experience to be interviewed because that's a huge part of what we do, right? And again, like it's nice to have people who are passionate about wrestling that want to cover the independents because yeah, Busted Open they cover the big stuff, right? And I'm sure they and they cover the big independents like GCW and what have you. But I really feel that the smaller independents, I mean, that's what really breeds the stars into those companies in the next coming years. And what you're doing now is awesome. Like you said, it's just like Flex. We really, and not only Flex, I mean, that's the same with Excite, with Ground Zero, with ESW, with One Up, with Immortal, with Dynasty. Like everybody has their own little niche in the business, and any way that you can put out content for wrestling fans to see is awesome. So you're just as big important of the spoke on the wheel as anything else. So we appreciate what you do, man.
I appreciate that a lot. But I want to look at your match now because you got a pretty big match. It seems like every time we've had you on before a match, it's always against a big name person.
Always.
Because
Everyone wants to see these WWE guys kill me, I swear.
Because I still remember the triple threat match you had at Immortal back in last year when it was you, Spencer Slade, and
Facade. Yeah.
Then you had the triple threat match when Immortal debuted at the Nexus Center.
Yeah, Colin, and Enzo, yeah.
And now you got Rhino coming up.
I got Rhino coming up, I tell you. No, this is cool, right? So I believe it or not, he's one of the few I haven't had the opportunity to get in the ring with.
Oh wow.
I have a pretty cool resume of former WWE, ECW, WCW, AEW, Ring of Honor. Well,
yeah.
I've wrestled a lot of top names. One of them is current WWE champion. And so when the opportunity came up and they were kind of like, thinking about who we could use at first, we were thinking about Tommy Dreamer, but he was booked already for, I think, TNA. And then I just suggested Rhino because he's on my bucket list. He always has been on my bucket list. It's just never worked out, right? And then Loke was just kind of like, all right, well, what do you think? And I'm like, yeah, let's do it, And I'm excited for the match. I'm gonna try my best to avoid that gore because I heard it sucks. And we're gonna make some magic in Flex Wrestling, me and Rhino, for the first time ever. So we'll see what happens.
Well, it's funny
you mentioned it doesn't end with a gore.
Exactly. Well, you mentioned Tommy Dreamer. According to Paul Heyman, he's late great Tommy Dreamer.
Nah, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's gonna be a moment that's gonna live in infamy. But looking obviously, you said before, you've had a plethora of guys you've been in the ring with. A lot of guys now that are on the big stage.
Yeah.
Where does this face? I know you said before, this is the first time you're facing Rhino, but where does this rank amongst the other big names that you've wrestled?
I mean, it's definitely up there. I've been very, very fortunate and very lucky to have people want to book me against these big stars. It's hard to rank where it's at on a list. I mean, because the list is just crazy, right? I mean, anybody that's been doing this for a while and has a list that I have, I mean, they probably feel the same way. I mean, it's so hard to gauge it. It means a lot to me because he is, I'm pretty sure, active ECW wrestlers who are still alive, and I hate to say it like that. I think he was the only one left outside of Van Dam, which I'm sure they'll never happen, but maybe it will. Who knows? but Van Damme doesn't really take independence. It almost happened once, but it didn't make sense at the time, and instead they went with Sami Callihan, which that made way more sense than me, who was in a tag team at the time. But yeah, it's cool for me because I've always admired his work. I've always been a fan of his character. I was always a fan of how different Rhino has always been. So I'm excited to get in there and mix it up. I really am.
Now, obviously, when you go in there, obviously you have to be professional. But is there a small part of you, wrestling fan, part of you that's sitting there going, "I'm in the same freaking ring as Rhino right now"?
10 years ago, yes. there's always the fan in me, right? But
Yeah.
There's always the fan in me. But anymore nowadays, it's really hard for me to get starstruck. Like, it's really like I don't really get like, oh my god, that's Rhino over there, because I've been in this situation so many times before where I'm just like, okay, let's go do business, and but I would the 12-year-old in me that used to watch him pile drive people off the second rope through tables is definitely going like, dude, you're wrestling Rhino, but the seasoned veteran is like, sweet, let's go have fun, let's go kill it, you know what I mean? So it's weird. Like, I don't really like I have moments like when I see the graphic, I go, that's pretty cool, but then it's okay, let's go to work, it's business now.
As actually some of you may know quite well, bringing out Sir Ryan Peterson always puts it, it's another day in the office.
Another day in the office, brother. That's literally it. It's another day in the office. And yeah, it's funny you said that, because I remember the very first legend name that I ever got to work with was Jimmy Superfly Snuka.
Oh, wow.
And I remember I was like, oh my God, this is like, it's a huge legend. He's a Hall of Famer. Like, this is going to be crazy. And literally, he took such good care of me. He goes, brother, no bump till finish. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be cake. You know what I mean? But it's cool though, because I mean, like, when you meet these people that you've watched on TV and you've seen at WWE live events back in the day or whatever, like, and then you meet them and they say, hey, my name is Terry, not Rhino. You know what I mean? Or you just and then like you talk to them, and then you get that respect, and you just realize they're people, no different than you and me. They were just blessed with really amazing opportunities, and they went farther in the business, and and they so it's I look at it like that. But yeah, it's going to be a fun match. I'm excited for it, and I want the fans of Flex who show up to be leaving that night all standing on their feet. So that's my goal.
I totally can see that coming. Last question I got for you before we wrap things up here, because like
Absolutely.
I said, we got quite a few more guys coming from Flex. Shell Connors tonight. Next week we got Maddox coming on, Sarah Raines coming on, Colton Allen coming on.
Wow, you got the whole roster coming. I love it. I love to see it.
Pretty much, Ref Ryan turned around. He's like, I'm not to pull back the curtain that much. He goes, just send me a schedule. He goes, I'll let them figure out what days they want. I'm like, okay. And then he starts messaging me. He goes, how does this guy work? How about this guy? I'm like, okay, sure, all right.
Yeah, works perfect.
Well, also the funny thing is, half of them I've been wanting up, especially the guys from Immortal, and I never got the chance.
Oh, so it works out. I love it.
But obviously, last question I got, we mentioned before, there's so many companies in the upstate area. Obviously, you got the Buffalo area, you got the Rochester area, you got you guys, One Up, Immortal, Dynasty. What are you hoping as far as like how Flex Wrestling can stand out from the others?
Well, right off the gate, and it's not that I don't want to see people get on Flex, and it's not that I don't want everybody to be on the same show, but I don't want the same cards to be the same at Immortal, and the same at One Up, and the same, like, for example, right? And it's not a knock on anyone because the matches were good. But last year or two, we've seen Edge of Hope versus CXR a million times around New York State, right?
Yes.
And it's not a knock on them. And the beautiful thing about all those guys is they kept every match different, which is very hard to do. Especially when you wrestle each other so much to continue to get creative and do things differently. But for me, like, I would like, if we do use like a lot of the same guys, like what we're doing at Flex now, like I mentioned before, how, we don't have CXR in a tag team. We have Chell Connors and we have TJ Epics. I would very much like to see what the two of them can do solo, because I think that you have two megastars waiting to really burst out on the scene. And I joke with TJ that he's the Marty Jannetty of the group, but I couldn't be more wrong by that statement, because both of them are fantastic. They are both just, and I hate that I'm putting TJ Epics over right now, but it's all out of love. But I want the difference to be, we do things differently. We book matches differently. We use maybe different talent, which we have. I know we have the backseat boys coming in, which is great because, having Johnny Cashmere in the locker room by itself is just amazing for any wrestler of any really experience level to learn from. Cashmere is one of the independent legends that are still out there. So I think it's going to have a lot of an ECW / old Ring of Honor vibe to it, which is what we want. And the venue is really amazing. It's literally going to be just such a cool experience, and I cannot wait for it. And I think like what we're doing with how the setup looks, the colors, the logos, just everything like that is going to be different. And the biggest thing that I hope that we continue is no student battle royals, because I cannot stand when people call a student match or a student battle royal, because, and I'll tell you why, that automatically says this match might suck. And I feel like you're putting whoever out there in such a disadvantage by calling it a student battle royal, student gauntlet, student match. Like, it's a
pigeonhole them.
It's a wrestling match on a wrestling show, But you put the word student in front of it, I feel that it's like a disclaimer saying this match might suck. Don't take it out on them. Yeah, but that's the one thing I don't want us to have, is I want us to have, if it's a battle royal, it's a battle royal. It's not a student battle royal. If there's two young green kids, it's a match. It's not a student match. It's a match. I feel student matches happen in wrestling schools with no audience. If you're on a show, it's a match. So that's my only thing.
I get what you're saying. It's almost like you're pigeonholed.
Yeah. It's like you're setting it up to fail before they even lock up. Like, to me, that's always been one of my I don't really like calling it that in front of an audience, because people will be like, oh, so they don't know what they're doing. Awesome. I'll go get a beer right now, or I'll go to the concession stand and
In other terms, that's their way of saying this could be the bathroom break match.
Or it's a way of saying, hey, this is for the friends and family that came here, and this isn't an actual pro wrestling match. No, it's, whether they sold tickets or not, it is a professional wrestling match. Treat it as such. I hate the word student before anything. It's just one of the things that bothers me.
I totally get that. Again, I'm glad we're able. I believe me, as a fan, I totally see where you're coming from.
Sure.
I feel it's the same thing when WWE back in the day with 205 Live.
Right.
And they put certain wrestlers in the 205 Live department. And great example, Mustafa Ali and Cedric Alexander.
Yeah.
Them and them, they did great. Don't get me wrong. But go back to what we just saw at Slammiversary a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
They were the opening match, and it was a. So I hate when companies, and I'm saying this as a fan.
Yeah.
Companies pigeonholed certain guys, and it's like you can't do that.
Because you're diminishing their talent before they even make their entrance. Like, hey, this is a student match. It's like, oh, all right, well, and it's just kind of a weird thing where instead of saying this match is scheduled for one fall, you know what I mean? And then let the performance speak on itself,
Exactly.
So that'd be the one thing that I hope that we don't do, which if I have my way, we won't. So
and then you leave it to people like me who are the podcasters who would say if the match was good or not.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is too is like, and not to go on a tangent, I know we're short for time, but like, listen, if you're young in the business, I was always taught, pick a veteran to see if they have the time to watch your match. And then take everything they say, their experience, whatever, and learn from it, right?
Yeah.
Now, wrestling is subjective. Not everybody likes certain styles and certain whatever, but, I always like to listen to anybody that gives advice because you never know when you could take that little piece of advice and apply it somewhere, right? There's a whole different variety of crowds in the world, right? In Pennsylvania, deep Pennsylvania, all they know is booing and yang. They don't care about the smart mark flips and the Hurricane Ranas and stuff and hitting 900, false finishes. But man, if you go out there and you're a character and you get it over, man, they're going to chant you like you are the second coming of Christ, right? Now, if you go to Philadelphia, you go to Jersey, they've seen everything,
Yeah.
So you got to really turn it up. You got to know how to work that style. One thing I always tell everybody who's anybody who asks me for advice, know your audience. A good worker knows what match to do on the card and knows what match to do in front of the crowd he's working in front of. It's not meaning to be lazy and take it easy in a night. But if you're wrestling in Carlisle, Pennsylvania, you're going to know right off the bat, you don't need to do any of the dip dive, this, and that. You maybe do one or two, but if you do it in Philadelphia, you're going to have to do that style, right? It's just how you adapt as a performer. But again, when you have people who have done this for any sort of time, they come and, they watch your matches, just take everything that they say with a grain of salt, put it in here, and then apply it when you feel is right. But, yeah, that's my tangent on pro wrestling, so.
I totally get what you're saying, but Sean, again, I'm glad we were able to get you back on.
It's been a pleasure, brother. I appreciate it big time. Thank you.
Before I let you go, where can fans get tickets for the debut of Flex, and what will it be streamed?
That is a perfect question for Ryan. I do believe it's going to be streamed. It is going to be Friday, September, I believe it's 27th, 26th, 27th, around there. It's the last Friday in September. It's right next to it's in a town in Bath, New York. I don't have any of the details in front of me. I'm horrible with details. But if you go to the Flex Wrestling Facebook page, it has all the information that you need to know. And I believe that there's a few competitions right now to give out some free tickets. So definitely head on over to Flex Wrestling on the Facebook page. And yeah, we're gonna have some fun with it. It's gonna be a very cool, very, very awesome vibe wrestling show. And it's going to have something for everybody, but it's going to be just one of those well-rounded pro wrestling shows where hopefully the fans in attendance will love it from the opening bell to the main event.
And I totally see what you're saying on that. I'm fortunate. I'm glad to be a small spoke on the wheel for Flex. So I'm very thankful that you guys are giving me the opportunity to kind of be the podcast of Flex.
Absolutely, brother. Absolutely.
And I want to definitely get you back on again, after that event. And,
Sure.
What else do you have coming up, though? Do you have anything else coming up other than Flex that you want to promote?
So I would love to. Actually, believe it or not, I am on a little wrestling hiatus until Flex Wrestling. It's by choice. It's not injured or anything like that. My life right now has been really great outside of the wrestling business, and I am not retiring, but I'm not making wrestling priority number one right now. That belongs to my wife and my daughter. And I always told myself when I got into this that I never wanted to just be gone all the time and be, not there for her. The cool thing with me is that I get to be, I get to cheer for her now, where she used to cheer for me in wrestling. So I get to cheer for her, whether it's travel softball or whether it's soccer or whether it's just, her doing her plays and playing her instruments and doing chorus. So that is the stuff that really means most to me. But also, I really, really, really enjoy spending time with my wife. And the things I have coming up, I do have some Excite dates coming up. Actually, starting the day after Flex Wrestling, which is September 26th is Flex. September 27th is Excite. And then I will probably only be at Excite for the rest of the year and Flex. I still might do the Pro Wrestling in December. They don't really, I think it's December 13th is their next date in Carlisle. But definitely check them out. The Pro Wrestling, Excite Wrestling, Flex Wrestling. Check out all pro wrestling, wrestling right now is in a really good spot. And somebody that's been, on the grind for 17 years doing this, I love to see it. I love to see people excel at it. I love to see people live their dreams. I love to see people, really do right by the business. So for me,
Absolutely.
it's cool to just observe. But those are the things I have coming up.
Sean, I definitely could not have said it any better. Guys, we're getting out of here now, but don't worry, guys, because we'll be back at the top of the hour with Shell Connors coming up, so you're not going to want to miss that. Definitely go check out Flex Wrestling. Obviously, like I said, guys, we'll have a lot more coverage of Flex Wrestling in the weeks to come leading up to the event, and it's going to be a lot of fun. But again, Sean, I'm glad we get you back on, and you're welcome to the show, back on the show.
I appreciate it, brother. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it big time.
Guys, for Sean, I'm John. We'll catch you guys next time on the On the Ropes radio show.